Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, with more Pillar Loves tabletop games, with a game that I really should have covered a whole lot sooner, but I'm glad I can cover it now. Power Grid. This game is a classic. This very specifically, though, is the Recharged Edition, which adds a few extra things. Goal of the game is to build your network and be able to supply your network with power. Doing so gets you money, which lets you get more stuff towards reaching the big goal of powering at least 17 or more cities. The number might be different based on the number of players. To that end, you'll have Electro, the money for the game. At the start, there'll be a random turn order for the first part of the first round. In the future, turn order will be determined by how many cities are currently in your network. The more cities you have, the higher up you'll be, which means you'll be going last in certain parts of the turn order. If there's a tie, it goes off of who has the bigger power plant. But once that's figured out, we go into auctioning a power plant. At the start of the round, the lowest numbered power plant will have a 1 discount. It will be the absolute minimum for a 1 discount is 1. It's possible that either a lower number power plant comes out after someone buys one of these and it's replaced, at which point that card gets removed from the game. So if number 3 comes out, it's removed. If nobody buys this one at the end of the turn, this also gets removed from the game. But anyway, auctioning power plants. The first player in order will choose a plant to auction. Each power plant has its own number, resources, and then how many cities it powers. Resources include coal, oil. This particular plant can use both. Trash for the yellow plants. And uranium for the red plants. Some power plants do not require resources at all and just straight up power cities. While this is a monetary advantage to you, since you don't have to worry about running resources, it means resources for everyone else who's got resource plants that are going to end up being a little bit cheaper, since you're not draining the resource market down. But the player will select a plant to bid on, and it'll go around. This will be the minimum bid, unless it's the discount. And players can drop out of the auction if it's getting too high for them. Whoever wins the auction pays the money out of their pocket from their player money, and then they are done for the round, for that auction round. And then we'll draw a new card, and it will take a new place. So when bidding on plants, only these 4 can be bid on. This is the actual market, this is the future market. For this first round, everyone will need to have a power plant. So let's just say they won this one. And they took this one for that 1 discount. Okay. At the end of the round, the highest numbered plant will go on the bottom. What's significant is at the bottom of the power plant deck is the phase 3 card, which we'll get into later. Okay. Once everyone's done with the auction, if this is the first round of the game, the player order will be changed based on power plant for this round only. So green had the 6, blue had the 5, purple had the 4. So they managed to keep the order. Okay. And then it goes into buying resources, starting with the player in the back. So you'll buy resources from the market. They start out cheap and then end up being very expensive. This is the rate at which they refill, depending on the phase of the game. So, the maximum number of resources you can have on a single power plant is equal to double its capacity. If you have an environmentally friendly plant, you cannot store resources at all. So it would cost 5 money, 5 electro for this player to stock up on their power plant. In future turns, you might have other power plants that can use those resources, and you have the option to move resources between them. Okay. So they would pay 5 for that. The next player in the order is going to be paying a little bit more. So that'd be like 4, 10. They could either take entirely coal, or they could take some oil as well. So that if they get into an oil plant later, they have something they can transfer over. And then they'd buy the trash, which is currently kind of expensive. But 1-to-1 is not bad. But anyway, players will be done with that, and it'll go into buying cities. Again, it starts with the person in the back. So to buy a city, it costs the slot, wherever you start. So it'll be 10. So at the start of the game, part of the map is going to be cordoned off, and then the rest of the map will be playable. It's usually based on the number of players. There's the 2-player game, which is unique to this version. That's uses 3 areas. A 6-player game will only use 5 areas. Really important to keep in mind. Let's say they start here. So that's 10. To buy the next city, it's going to be whatever the city is plus the connection costs. There's no connection cost here, so that's another 10. Now, they don't necessarily need to connect this turn if they're not going to be able to power the cities. But sometimes you just want to establish your foothold early. Yeah. So they'll be there, and then blue will start out somewhere. So at the start of the game, only the 10 cost slots are open. Once someone crosses this line, so that they've got 7 cities in their network, it goes into phase 2. Or step 2. At the start of step 2, the lowest numbered plant will be removed from the game. And then the 15 city slot will be open, and it'll affect the refill as well. And then when step 3 happens, it'll open up the 20s. A player can only be in a city once. If you ever find yourself in a corner and you need to connect past somebody, like let's say Blues and Billings, and then probably want to reach Santa Fe, they would have to pay the intervening costs in addition to the city. So from here, it's 9 plus 13 is 22 plus 10 is 32. Yeah. It gets expensive if you're really badly cornered. Try not to let that happen. But once everyone in order has bought their cities, we'll go to bureaucracy. You spend resources based on your power plants, on those plants, to power that many cities. So 2 coal, and it powers 1. So we consult the chart. They power 1 city, they get $22. Or 22 electro. Because they have 2 cities, that doesn't matter. They can only power 1. It's possible to power more cities than you have, but you only get what cities you could power that actually built. So there's this balancing act. Yeah. Then the resource market gets replenished. For this specific map, the USA map, spent coal goes into here. When replenishing the resource market for coal, it will take out of here first. It's entirely possible that if enough coal gets spent, it'll mostly wind up in here and be horribly expensive to get, but at least it'll be available. So it'll replenish 4 coal, 2 oil, 1 trash, and 1 uranium. And it'll put, 2 cities, so they're there. Okay. And then update the market. So this is when the big number goes underneath. Is now. Once step 3 happens, what's going to happen at the end of that round is the lowest number is going to be removed from the game. The remaining plants are going to be shuffled, and from then on, all those plants are available. The lowest number will be removed at the end of the following rounds from there. It's possible for the deck to get depleted as well. Another thing regarding power plants, you are limited to 3 of them. If I didn't mention it already. If you ever get a 4th, you're going to have to scrap one of your old ones. It gets removed from the game. You cannot scrap the one you just bought. You can transfer resources between your plants, possibly to the new plant. Not 100% sure, but that's usually how we end up playing it anyway. Yeah. Yeah, you can transfer resources to the new plant if it'll accept them. Any resources you lose from that old plant go to the supply, not the market. But yeah, the game will just continue on until someone connects a certain number of cities, so 17. And then when it goes to the bureaucracy phase, the player who can power the most cities, regardless of how many cities they have, as long as they can as long as they can power those cities, that's their basic final score for the game. So if I got like 19 cities, but I only power like 17, then my final score is 17. If someone has only 18, but they can power all 18 of them, then they're going to win instead. If someone else is also at 19 and they can actually power the 19, then they win. If there's ever a tie for powering cities at the end, then remaining money left. So you have the integrity of your company's, connecting, empowering, and balance while being financially responsible. Yeah. The back of this map is Germany, as is tradition from the previous edition of Power Grid. And that one, the special for that one is, where is it? When Power Plant 39 is purchased, the uranium market stops refilling, period. Germany phases out nuclear power, and then whatever is left is what players have available for using that. And then there's a ton of maps available, and I believe an alternate deck of power plants as well for expanding your game, much like in the same vein as Concordia, of just different places to play and figure out connections and maybe deal with some interesting rules stuff. Like, I think France and Benelux and others have their own weird stuff going for them. There's the Korea map with the North Market and the South Market. There's other stuff as well. But yeah, there's just one game engine, a lot of maps to play. So why do I like this game? It's just an interesting approach of you have to have this balance. If you bid high on a new plant, you're not going to have enough money to get the resources. Or if you get a whole lot of resources for your plant, you may not have enough money for your cities. Or if you get like a cheap plant and some resources, you might be able to build a ton of cities, but you might not necessarily be able to power all of them. So that balancing act, and also the whole turn order advantage of being in the back, is also helpful. But yeah, I was really surprised to pick up this edition and see, actual counters for keeping track of stuff. Track of what's being bid on. The little discount thing. There's also a 2-player variant called, what was it? Against the Trust, which I really want to read over because, being able to play 2 players while having this third kind of ghost sort of thing mess with people seems really interesting. I gotta read through it more, but yes, Power Grid, classic game, love it. Find a copy, check it out, play it, and just have a blast. It's still a good game after all these years. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. This has been Pillar Nexus. I'll see you next time.